Saturday Profiles. I'm Ryan Howard. We're here at the LDS Motion Picture Studio in Provo, Utah. And joining me today is Charlene Farr and Wanda Mattox. Welcome. Good to have you.
Thank you
Thanks
for
for
having
having
us.
So Charlene has recently written a book that reflects on her life growing up in Texas as a young girl. And Wanda was a big help on that one, so they're here to chat with us about that. And Charlene, you have the distinction of being the senior member of your Vallejo ward in California, so congratulations on that.
Thank you.
It's so nice to have you here. Let's talk a little bit about growing up. So you grew up in Texas, 8 children, and a farm. What was life like for you?
Life was beautiful. You enjoyed being all your cousins. Every house and every different community was all your cousins. So you played with all your cousins. And so we had a large farm, and we learned how to raise all the vegetables according to the season. My mother was really, like if Easter, with a Saturday before Easter, it's a good planting time for the spring. So we did all of the cucumbers, the watermelons, the sugar cane. And one thing that we didn't like that we had to raise a lots of it was string beans. We hated because you had to pick them.
Yeah.
But then you ship them to Orange, Texas. And so the watermelons, the cucumbers, and all like that, the sugar cane, and then we had to take it to the mill and make the syrup, and we did all of that. So we had the horse. We had 3 horses and 1 mule. The mule was named Otone, and then we named, because when you got through with the horses, you let them out, and it was free land. And when we got ready to bring them in, we would just call them by the name.
Oh,
And
they
they'll-
come right to you.
And they'll come right to us. And so that way we had the cows, and we had 2 good milk cows. We kept 2 good milk cows to make the milk and do the butter. And the milk cows had bells on them. So, you call, oh, here, oh, Beulah. And then the dog would go and help us get the cows. And then we had to build all of this. Daddy would help get the lumber, because we would cut the trees off our timber and take them to the sawmill. And they would teach us how to rack the lumber and dry the lumber, and how to build a hog pen, how to build a cow pen, how to build chickens. So we was like sewing,
yeah.
and building with the hammers and stuff like that, and building the chicken yards. So we did the hogs, and he would go to and buy the hogs, and then we would do the different pens for the hogs. And then we had to do the smokehouse, because you had to have, when you did the hogs in the wintertime, you had to smoke the meat. You had to know how to smoke, and you had to know what tree to cut to get the smoke.
Get the
So
right
we
wood.
learned how to smoke the meat. We learned how to grind the sausages and make the sausages like you have in the store now. They're very expensive, but we did all of that.
Wow.
And then we sold it to the people, and they put it in their counter, and then they would come. The law in Texas that you didn't come in a person's yard, you had to call them at the gate.
Oh,
So the people would come to the gate and say that I want 10 cents worth of collard greens. I want so-and-so and so-and-so. So that was mother. She had about 12, not 12. She had about 6 acres, and that called her garden. And her garden, the town peoples would teach her how to buy the seeds, and she would plant at a certain time all of the collard greens for winter, turnip greens for the summer. And so they would squash, all the different kinds of squash, all the different kinds of peppers that all the peoples like, peppers. And then she, for the blackberries and the jewberries, we would have to plant them on the fences so they can grow up, so we can do that.
wow.
And then we sit out and for the trees, like apple trees. We did 2 of each one of them, 2 apple trees, 2 plum trees, 2 fig trees, and in the fall, where then you had 2 trees, cranberry trees, and we call them old people's thing. Old people's at the cranberries, and we always put them at the back door. So everybody had 2 cranberry trees, 2 persimmon trees, and so the squirrels and all like that, would come, and so we would do squirrel dumpness, you know.
Yeah.
You had squirrel dumpness,
Yeah.
you
So,
had squirrel everything. So,
so you were a real close family growing up, all working together, making
all
things
working
work, working
together.
hard as well. And
Hmm
it sounds like you really enjoyed it, though.
We enjoyed it. We enjoyed the work. We didn't know that we was working so hard. We just getting it done.
Mm-hmm.
And the inspector was there when he come on in his suit like you have. Well, what did you girls do? Well, so and so and so and so. And then he would take us on the back porch and do the Bible and do his sermons.
Yeah.
And then I started writing his sermons.
Oh, you start writing the sermons. Oh, wow. That sounds impressive, actually.
Hmm The first sermon that I wrote for my daddy, and he told me that, he says, oh, I don't think I'm going to use this. I don't think I'm going to use this, was Mary and Martha. They had a brother, and the brother died.
Yeah.
And when Jesus said, come out with your grave clothes on, the sermon was come out with your grave clothes on. And that was the best sermon he ever preached.
Well, tell me about your introduction to the gospel, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. How
Well,
did that come about?
I had to move to San Francisco, and I had got divorced and had my 2 kids. And I was doing very successful. In my adult life, I've always been very successful. And it come to a point that I was at a low point in my life, very, very low. And I was trying to see which way should I go. And I was laying, I had an order coming in from Boston, and I was just laying in my bed with my rollers on, trying to figure it out. Everything you had didn't work out. Everything before had been perfect. And I had never run into something like I run into. The Lord let the doorbell ring. And I was thinking that it was my money coming from Boston. I jumped out of the bed with my gown on, with the rollers in my hair, and run and open my door. And there stood 2 missionaries. And I says, oh, you can't come in. You can't come in, but I give you a donation. And they said, no. Instead of giving us a donation, can we come back next week and see? I says, okay, you have a deal. So come back next Thursday. So next Thursday, I was all dressed up, waiting for these people that don't take no money. And they was from Provo, Utah. And I think, I don't care where the missionaries is from, had been trained. Those were pros. They came in my living room when I had my fireplace going, and they started out taking their time. I would ask the questions because I was a Sunday school teacher, and Daddy had taught me good for the Bible and what they was teaching. And I would go over, and they would take their time and take their time and take their time. And we become best friends because they was teaching me and what he was pointing out. And I says, I never heard of that before. Never heard of that before. But then when they would leave, I would pray on it and say, that sounds okay. That sounds okay. I wonder why other people say, I wonder why Daddy don't know about this. And that's how I learned about Church of Jesus Christ Latter-day Saints. You have the best trainers in the world. And then when they took me to the ward, it was a good while before I went to the ward because I was in Texas. Mm-hmm. I was in Houston, Texas. The Kingwood State was the best state in Texas. And I was doing okay then. And then when it stopped, well, then they told more missionaries. They told the person that was over the missionary. So all these people was coming to this black woman's house, and I was cooking the food, and they was eating Southern food. And I had put my business in my garage, and they would get through with their training, and then they would come and help me, and we would eat. And then they would say, now it's time for you to get baptized. And they took me and showed me what they was doing when they baptized somebody. No, that's not the baptism that we do. When we baptize people, we have a reception for them, and we invite all the people in the community and everybody comes. So if I get baptized, I want to have a reception, and I want all the ward to come. Most beautiful, beautiful baptism in the whole world. So that means that all the ward knew Sister Mattox. And so when they took me to the church, and they had told me about it, how many people are going to be seated there? Well, maybe 200 or 300. How many blacks are going to be seated there? 1. And then when we walked in, and one missionary was in the front, the other was in the back, and this man was up there waving his hand, waving his hand. And I told the missionary in front of me, that man is telling us to come to the front. So he put us in the third row. And he said, from now on, when you come to church, you sit on the third row. You always sit on the third row. And I didn't know he was one of the leaders of the church. And he got to be my visiting teacher, Blickenstadt. And I said to myself, oh, do you have to be my visiting teacher? And he says, after church, you're going to come to my house for lunch. And then the next Sunday, I'm going to go to your house. So he really taught me the Book of Mormon. Sunday with his kids playing and tearing up everything. Well, then I was learning. And then they announced that the bishop would like to see you Tuesday night. And I said, oh, God, what did I do? The bishop want to see me? And so they said that we want you to be a Sunday school teacher. I said, no, I can't be a Sunday school teacher in this church. I don't know Nephi, first Nephi from the late Nephi. They said, you will be over the 12th grade boys. Scared to death. Scared to death. So they didn't tell me anything. They just gave me the book and said that Sunday you're going to be over the 12th. So I got my room, and all of them sit there like this looking at me. I'm Sister Mattox, and I'm brand new, and I don't know anything about what I'm doing, so you all going to have to help me. And so each one of them that I told them, I said, I don't spell real good. I come from an all-black school, and I have somebody, if you want to write on the board, I don't write that good, so I need somebody to write and spell, and I need somebody to help me with this book. And everything I asked for, they would hold up their hand, and I had about students helping me. I didn't know you were supposed to do this. And I didn't know that the children would go back and tell their parents every word that I said. And so after a while, I was getting more and more people in my class because I would ask them, how was your week? And before I started the class, everybody would stand up and tell me how was their week. And oh God, they was telling. So the parents were saying that their kids was more interested in the classes, and they would come home and they had to help Sister Mattox. So what are y'all doing? We had to help Sister Mattox. We had to help Sister Mattox. I don't think that I got one wrong, and they had to correct it. And that's where the king had these people to go in to burn them up. He said, no, Sister Mattox, you got it all wrong. It didn't happen like that. And so they would get up and explain it. So we had a good relationship. And I told them about, who I come from. And so one Sunday I got up and I says, now, Sister Mattox will not be here next Sunday. I'm going home to see my mother. And y'all going to have another Sunday school class. They went home and told their parents, because there was Girl Scout leaders and Boy Scout leaders, we want to go up there where Sister Mattox lived and see where she lived. And she said that when a hurricane come, her daddy would let the peoples come from Port Arthur and Orange and camp on the land and not charge them anything. We could take our tents and camp up on their land. And they come to me and asked, they said, okay. I said, sure. I just thought maybe like 12 was coming. I didn't know half of the church was coming. Because, see, where I live is dams, the largest dam in Texas, and the creeks and stuff like that. And so when they bought those children, they let out the chickens. They went in and got the eggs. They wanted to do. So it was all over the place. And Mother was just sitting there looking at it. So it's just amazing. It's amazing these people come up here. And they said, we camp out. You can camp out. You can do anything you want. And so as long as you don't see that sign say keep out, you go on the land and do all the stuff like that. So it was just a beautiful relationship.
That's great.
That I found with my family and their family.
Yeah, it sounds like you had a great experience, and they really appreciated your style of teaching, which was what we teach people to do now, but you were ahead of your time, so that's awesome. Let's talk about your book, and I don't want to pull you in here. So talk about, how did this come about? It's called My
I was talking to her, I was talking to my daughter, and this is my baby. Yeah. I was talking to her on the phone, and I was telling her how life was in the country. And because she, a city girl in Las Vegas, and she says, oh, that all sounds so nice. why don't I just write a book about Shorty? And so she wrote the book, and I told the story.
Mm.
And that's how Shorty become. And I think that to anybody that have any kind of animals, you realize that that animal is your best friend.
Yeah, I think so. Well, tell us about working with your mom on doing this project. How did that go?
Well, as you can see, she has so many stories to tell. And so I was just listening to her tell story after story after story. I said, you know what? The world needs to hear this story because I'm a dog lover. I'm an animal lover. And so some of the stories that she was telling me was just so endearing. I'm like, we've got to put this in writing. So I would listen to her, and then we would start corroborating together with the timing and everything. And then I have a girlfriend that I've been knowing for 30 years. And Gloria and her daughter, it's a daughter and mother and daughter team. And they're artists, and they are extraordinarily talented. And they did the illustrations in the book. So Gloria has worked with Bob Mackey. I met her on the Rockettes. We worked together on the Rockettes. And they says, we just got together, and so she started drawing. I wanted to do caricatures, but Gloria's daughter, Etheria, does caricatures. Like in a 2 or 3 minutes, she can have you, boom. And Gloria is more of a realist. And so the pictures that are in the book are from the era that she grew up in. And it's just fantastic. I can't say enough about the illustrations. We were blessed to have her do the illustrations for the book. And the book there's actually 2 stories in the one book. And it talks about her love for this dog and the dog's love for her. And there's all kind of stories in the book. So it's just fascinating. I was so honored. I'm so proud of her. I'm so proud of the walk that she's made with the Latter-day Saints and how it's changed her life. It literally changed her life. And I just love the community. It's more than just a church. It's a community. I'm getting off track, but I really feel strongly about the community. And this is how it just happened. It just happened. She just was talking, and I'm like, this sounds too good just to go in one ear and out the other. And I love reading. She loves reading. My sister loves reading. And reading is very important. And this is a true story. Everything's true. And that's basically it. I love Jesus. And
Yeah, it sounds like this is a true family collaboration. We have your
Yes.
sister, she's over here, she's off camera. We couldn't
Yes.
convince her to be on camera, but she's an integral part as well,
Yes.
managing this process. What's she been doing? You can speak for her. What's she been doing to make this process work?
she's been contacting the different libraries, and she's been working together with us. She lives right next to my mom. I'm in Las Vegas. And so we come together a lot, FaceTiming on the phone. Sometimes I'll come up to the Bay Area. I'm disabled. And so I needed something to do too. I'm like, enough of the sewing, because I work backstage, enough of the sewing. And so we just got all together and started kind of like chronicling her life, because my sister was doing like the history of the family and putting the family tree together and doing all that stuff. And I kind of like took another stance and just said, okay, well, these stories are just she has a ton of stories. And so I just says, well, let me just focus on getting some of this in writing. And so that's some of the things that we've been doing together.
Oh, yeah, that sounds great. So tell me about this dog named Shorty. So obviously meant a lot to you.
The 6 girls, he was a apostolic preacher that lived over in the white neighborhood that gave Daddy a puppy. And so he brought the puppy home and said, you girls can have this puppy. They never said what kind of puppy it was. And so we fed the dog, and what we ate, we gave it to the dog. And so the dog kept getting bigger and bigger. And with the other kids in the community, we had the biggest dog. The dog kept getting bigger and bigger. And so what we eat, we give it to the dog, and the dog ate. And so when the wintertime come, we made the dog a quilt. Like this is the house, and the dog was up under here.
Oh, yeah.
And so we put that for the dog to sleep. But when we wake up in the morning, the dog would be at the foot of the bed, and we wouldn't know how the dog got in the house. And so the dog would walk us to school because it's just like those bushes out there. You had to just narrow
forest.
road that you walk to school. And so Daddy would say, if you see this kind of track, it's a bear, and it's then this is a wolf. And so anything would get us. Well, when Shorty would stop and start barking, well, then we would stop, and then he would take us on to school. It was a miracle to us how Shorty knew what time school was out. When school was out and you had to have him a snack, well, then Shorty would walk us. And so one day, it's in the book, the boys would pull our hair, and so Shorty would get after the boys, so nobody would bother the four girls because the dog was walking right alongside. So if some kind of animal come along, was messing with Shorty, but Shorty would give the sign for us to stop. So we would stop. So Shorty followed us to church, and he would lay up under the big tree till church was out, and the window was up, so he was hearing everything that we were saying. And so just everywhere we was, we had Shorty the dog. But the mystery behind Shorty is when I was lost.
So that's what the main part of the story is about. You were lost, and Shorty found you, brought you home?
No, it was Shorty and I.
She was lost
She
in
was
the
lost
woods.
with Shorty.
She was
Okay.
lost in the woods.
Okay, I'll tell you a quick story that I was lost in the woods. When I got into a pond, how you walk, and I come across a pond, and so I knew that I was lost. I knew that I had to get out, and so I didn't know who I was, and I went to crying, and Shorty pulled my dress, and I caught Shorty's tail, and Shorty walked, and we walked, and we walked, and we come across the road, and Shorty stopped. And I looked, and I found I just figured out I should go this way till we found the community. And so when I got home, they had my hand against Shorty's tail. I had held on to the dog. I was asthmatic, I was breathing, I was bleeding all over. And so that's my story. He brought me home.
He brought you home. What does that mean to you and your family to have these stories that you can share with others?
It means everything to us because, especially in today's world, bringing the family together and sitting down and reading to each other. You don't have to even know how to read to enjoy the book because the illustrations are so fabulous. It just takes you word by word by the pictures. But to be able to read, to have an older brother or older sister read to her siblings, or aunt read to her nephew or something, it's bringing the family closer together. And that's one of the things that I've learned growing up, is that family is everything. And so we try and do things like cooking together, sewing together. We do things just together. That togetherness is so important. And so I think the book will turn the TV off, put the computers down, turn your laptop off, I'm not into computers, as you can tell. I'm in the dirt.
The house is still there.
Yeah.
The land is still there. The farm is still there.
No, that's awesome. Good to have that history. Well, I really appreciate you taking the time to come and chat with us, share your background, fascinating stories. The name of your book is My Dog Named Shorty, and you check it out. It's beautifully illustrated, and it's a great story. I want to thank you so much for coming and sharing it.
Thank
It's been
you.
a pleasure to have you.
Thank you
Pleasure.
so much.
Pleasure.